Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm going to be giving some recommendations of books that are written by Black authors about Black main characters. So obviously there has been a lot going on in the world with regards to the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of great change is being made, although of course we have a lot of progress there's a lot of progress we still need to make, but there has been a lot of changes that are occurring because of this movement, which is great. And even in the publishing industry, a lot of Black authors don't get the exposure that they deserve and don't get the proper marketing resources that they should get. So in this video I'm highlighting some books that I've read in the past and enjoyed of Black authors that feature Black main characters. And of course, this list is not enough and is not comprehensive at all. When I look at my reading, I acknowledge that as much as I want and try to read books by Black authors, I just don't have enough, and that's something I really need to change really soon. I'm definitely going to be more conscious now of what books I'm picking up and who the authors are, and I'm going to make an active effort to try to pick up more books by Black authors. Anyway, so the first book that I'm going to be talking about is of course a very popular one, but still, if you have not read it yet, you really should, and that is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This book came out in 2017, and I actually can't believe that it's been that long. It feels like it was just like a year or two ago. But yeah, this book came out in 2017, and it took the whole reading world by storm. It became really popular because it was a book that talked about something that had never really been talked about before. The Hate U Give follows our main character, Star Carter, who lives in a poor Black neighborhood, but she goes to a fancy suburban prep school, and so she's living this life juggling between these two worlds because these two worlds are very different. And then one day, Star witnesses the murder of her friend Khalil by a police officer. Her friend is also Black, and she is the sole witness to this event, so she's caught in the whirlstorm of media, and she basically has to tell her side of the story and what actually happened. And of course it is very relevant to what is happening now, especially with the murder of George Floyd. And not just George Floyd, but hundreds of other Black people who have been wrongfully murdered by the police in our country. And even though this book was written and released 3 years ago, it is like sadly very relevant to today, especially like the past month or so. I know that a lot of people have probably already read it, but if you have not read it, please pick it up. It is so good, and it really gives insight into what it's really like to be in that situation, which is something that like most of us cannot relate to. And then it's a very eye-opening book, and that's why I really enjoyed it, and it is also very important. The next book I'm going to talk about is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas as well. This is her second book. So this book is actually very different from The Hate U Give. It's a lot lighter, which I think is also important when reading books about Black main characters and written by Black authors. It's important to not just read about books that highlight the tragedies and the bad things that they face, but also the Black joy and the good parts as well. On the Come Up follows 16-year-old Bree, who is the daughter of an underground rap legend who has died, and she has like very big shoes to fill because her dad was very famous, and she wants to do this because her family's also about to get evicted and they're poor. So yeah, she goes viral. There's a rap video of her that goes viral, and it's basically about her and her rapping. This book was very different from the first book, as I said, and it's a book that I haven't really, because rapping is something that I have never read about, which is really cool. That there's like not a lot, but there's like some rap verses that she's written and some like freestyle verses, which was really cool to read about. So yeah, this is another book that I highly recommend. Not just like books like The Hate U Give that focus on, yes, we should read those books as well, but I think books like On the Come Up, which focus on other parts of Black culture and life, is also important as well. The third book that I'm going to be talking about is a short one, and that is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I know I'm talking about like kind of popular authors and popular books, but I have some books also that I've not received as much attention. I'll be getting to those later. But Dear Martin follows the main character, Justice McAllister, who is very smart. He's like captain of the debate team, and he's like set for an Ivy League school, but one day he is arrested and put in handcuffs, and although he is released, that event has shaken him, and so he starts thinking more about race and how that plays in America. And also he starts a letter to Martin Luther King Jr. talking about some of his emotions and feelings about what is going on in the world. And then one day he goes on a drive with his friend Manny, and their music is turned really loud, and the police officers don't like that, so some shots are fired and then justice is caught in the middle of it all. This book is kind of like The Hate U Give. It came after The Hate U Give, and it follows like an equally important story of, again, about police brutality in our country, which is very much prevalent today. This book was also very good. It's very emotional, and I mean, all of these books are obviously emotional because they talk about something that is very tragic and just so wrong. This is just another novel that's highlighting some of the bad things that happen to Black people in this country, and it's also a very important read in my opinion. The next book is a book that I haven't heard like hardly anyone talk about on BookTube, and that is A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy. So A River of Royal Blood, this book was actually sent to me for free by Penguin Teen, so thank you so much to them for sending me a copy. I really like this book. I give it 3.75 stars. I haven't actually talked about it in a wrap-up, I don't think, or I don't remember, maybe I have. It's been so long since I've done a wrap-up. The River of Royal Blood follows our main character Eva, who is a princess, and she is born with this dark magic that has not been seen for many generations in her world, in her kingdom, and the last person who was seen with magic like hers was a ruthless queen who massacred thousands of people, so very dark shadow about hanging above her head regarding to her magic. In order for Eva to get the throne, she must battle her older sister Issa in a battle to the death. And then she's attacked by an assassin, and then the whole story like starts. I thought the concept of this was very cool, like the whole battle of the death. Unfortunately, I thought the battle would be the main focus. It's really not. The battle doesn't actually come into play until like the end of the book, but the writing of this was very beautiful, and I highly recommend you pick it up because it's so good, but I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about it, so yeah, I hope it gets a lot more hype soon. The next book is another fantasy novel that actually got a lot of attention when it first came out, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Children of Blood and Bone follows our main character Zelie, who remembers a world where there used to be magic, but then a ruthless king eradicated magic for good, and she lost her mother in that whole war, but she wants to bring magic back, so she bonds with this rogue princess, and together they have to outrun this crown prince who wants to erase magic for good. This book is so good. It's one of my favorite books of last year. The world building and the writing, everything is so beautiful, and I absolutely loved this book. Though the second book did get mixed reviews, so I'm like kind of like scared about reading that one because I really want to love it. But yeah, this book, I don't know about the second book, but this book is just so good, and if you have not read it, I highly recommend you pick it up because it's just such a great fantasy novel. Also, the cover is just absolutely beautiful, and the inside cover without the dust jacket is like also beautiful. Like, look at this design. But yeah, if you have not picked this book up yet, I just highly recommend you do. If you love fantasy, you will love this book. And the last book that I'm going to be talking about in this video is Slay by Brittany Morris. The Slay follows our main character Kira Johnson, who is a 17-year-old girl attending her Jefferson Academy, and she's the only Black kid at this school. Okay, she's not the only Black kid, she's one of the only Black kids at this school, and at night she joins thousands of other Black kids in this virtual reality game called Slay. And what no one knows is that Kira is actually the game developer, so she created this game, and no one knows this, not even her boyfriend Malcolm. And when a teenager is murdered because of a dispute in the game Slay, the media starts calling it like a racist hub for thugs, and she must deal with the fallout of that. If you have not watched my videos, which I'm assuming you haven't, I love books with VR or like a virtual reality, some sort of virtual reality like game or anything related to VR. I love in books for some reason. Maybe because I like tech in general. Like, I'm going as a computer science major in college, so I'm like into some like games and tech and VR and stuff. But I loved the video game in this because it is actually like all built around and centered around Black culture and things related to Black culture, which is so unique, and I've never seen anything like that before. After a kid was killed because of the dispute in Slay, of course the media started labeling it as a hub for thugs. So there's a lot of like important conversations about racism, which I really liked. I have heard some Black reviewers talk about how the boyfriend Malcolm is not great rep for a Black character. He is very protective about Black culture and Black people in general. Like, he wants to go to a historically Black college where there's only Black people, and he doesn't like interacting a lot with people outside of his race. So just beware, that is something that Black reviewers have pointed out, but in general I just love this book so much. It's so good, and especially if you like VR type books like Ready Player One or Warcross, I highly recommend you pick this up because it's a unique take with the incorporation of Black culture in the video game, which I've never read before, as I said before. So yeah, this book is really good. Anyway, that is it for this recommendation video of books that I have really enjoyed by Black authors about Black main characters. Of course, I need to increase my reading of Black authors in general in the future, and I will be doing that very consciously soon. But yeah, let me know down more recommendations of your favorite books written by Black authors, as I would love to know, because I definitely want to increase my TBR of books by Black authors. So let me know if you have recommendations. But that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!